Knowing what you know about Star Wars now, would you do it all over again?
It's hard. It's a hypothetical I can't really get my mind around because, they asked George Harrison, what's it like being in the Beatles? He said,
Yeah.
What's it like not being in the Beatles? He didn't know. And by the way, here's my George Harrison story because, I was saying, these girls that get all weak-kneed and start crying and stuff, I totally don't get it when it's directed towards me.
Yes.
And yet, when I found out George Harrison was sitting right across the aisle, I gave the note to the stewardess and said, can you give this to Mr. Harrison? I said, dear Mr. Harrison, I'm Mark Hamill. I played Luke in Star Wars.
Yeah.
I was shameless. But I said, I'd really love to meet you. And she came back and she said, he'd be happy to meet you. So come right now. So I go over there, and he's sitting in first class. And, like I say, he's across from me. And I was getting really nervous. I'm thinking, if I open my mouth, I felt this lump forming, like, I'm going to cry like a little girl.
Sure.
But I managed to get out, Mr. Harrison, I'm just so thankful because your music was just so great and it was so important in my life. I just really love your music so much. And he looked up and he went, you're not so bad yourself. And I'm telling you, I could have quelled right there. Oh my God, a Beatle telling me you're not so bad yourself. Next time we talk, I'll tell you my Ringo story.
Oh, I'd love to hear it.
All
But, you know what?
That's
they want you up on
cliffhanger.
stage here. I'll walk
right.
you over there. We can walk and talk, right? Obviously George
I
Harrison's...
need my jacket. Wait a minute, we'll walk and get my jacket.
All right, we're walking looking for Mark Hamill's jacket as he prepares to go on stage here at Star Wars Celebration Japan. George Harrison obviously being an iconic rock and roll figure and yourself being an iconic movie screen legend. It's quite a meeting of the masters.
Right.
And
Wow.
I just want to say that I kind of feel the same way right now talking to you. You're a hero of mine since
Thanks
I saw
very
Star
much.
Wars. And I'm just really proud to have been able to conduct this interview with you.
Thank
And I
you.
just thank you so much for your time.
My
It was
pleasure.
very generous of you. I just want you to have a great time
Thank you.
for the rest of your stay in Japan.
Thank you.
And I hope we can talk to you again sometime.
That's great.
Thank you,
I
Mark.
will, and we'll hold my Ringo story till then.
Oh, I can't wait to hear it.
All right.
My good buddy here, Jimmy Mack, we had the pleasure of talking to you in Japan.
Right.
And right off the bat, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask, you promised him a Ringo Starr story.
Sorry for the quality of my voice. I'm dealing with a little bout of laryngitis.
Right.
I know you're a huge Beatles fan.
Yes.
And you told me the George Harrison story, you're not so bad yourself.
Right.
And you promised me next time we saw each other, I would get the Ringo Starr story.
Okay, the Ringo Starr story was we were in London and there was a private club, and if I'm not mistaken, it was called Stringfellows. And I'm not a big nightclub guy, but somebody had passes, and just the fact that it wasn't open to the general public, had some appeal. And I thought, oh, okay. So we went, and there were these sort of sunken, not so much booths, they were like semicircle couches and so forth. And I found myself sitting in a place where in came Ringo and his wife Barbara Bach. And they sat, the owner of the club sat them right down next to me. And I'm usually, I'd like to think I'm better than this. But when I looked at him and said hello, I said, oh, I can't believe it. Ringo, I just love you so much. And I hugged him, and he winced in pain. And I realized he said, in that inimitable Liverpudlian accent, he said, I'm a bit damaged. And he had a car accident within a week or so, and his ribs were all taped up. And all I could think of, here I meet the most lovable of all the Beatles, and I actually caused him pain. It was horrible. I mean, it's not a pleasant story. I don't really tell it often because it's the last thing I ever would have wanted to do. But I do keep it in perspective when I meet. I mean, I'm surprised sometimes at the passion of the fans here, and people will shake or have sweaty palms. We keep a box of Kleenex because every so often we get what we call a weeper, where and they're tears of joy. But you don't think of yourself in that way. So, but I remember, tables are turned, and I've met my childhood heroes at times that have made me lose my bearings.
You see the outpouring of support Star Wars fans have
Right.
for your character in your films. Does that compare to how you feel about the Beatles? I mean, do you see the parallel?
Oh, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. I mean, really, when I was, I think, 11 when I first heard the Beatles, and then 12 when I saw them in Ed Sullivan, and of course we saw A Hard Day's Night. It was just overwhelming. Not only the music just made you feel so terrific, but they were so unusual. I mean, the way they talked, their sense of humor, the way they dressed, their hair, all of it. And so it went beyond the music. I want to know where they were from and how they met and how they became a band. I mean, so yes, it's totally relatable. I mean, not that I'm comparing myself in any way in greatness to that, but I do know when it goes beyond just listening to a record or just watching a movie, where you really become sort of obsessed with getting as much information as you can about any given subject.
If the Beatles were cast in Star Wars, which Beatle would make a good Luke Skywalker?
Goodness gracious. I don't know. I would probably think maybe George, because he's so sincere and he's so self-effacing, and when you look at him, you wouldn't realize he's special. John's sly and had a wicked sense of humor, and he'd probably be more in the Han Solo vein, maybe. Paul can do anything. I mean, maybe he'd be Luke. Who knows? But he's gorgeous. Maybe he'd be the princess. It's sort of a gender switch. Ringo, I don't know. Ringo, again, is as lovable as can be. He's probably either a Wookiee or an Ewok.
I was going to say Chewbacca. I think Ringo would be a great Chewbacca.
They're both so huggable.
Rebel Force Radio.